Dearest fantasy readers, welcome to the Dear Fantasy Reader podcast, where two best friends, Hannah and Karen, travel through the pages of our favorite romantasy novels. Join us as we take flight into the world of the Empyrean series, diving deep into the chapters exploring characters, scenes, theories, foreshadowing, and more, taking what we've learned from the second book, Iron Flame, to reread and re-experience the first.
With that, content warning and spoiler alert, we will be covering anything and everything Empyrean series to this date and any content Rebecca Yarros has given us. Also, due to the nature of these books, this podcast is rated R in content and in language.
Today, we are discussing our predictions for the brand new Fourth Wing Xaden POV chapter that releases on September 17th, which is less than a week away at this point. Now, we are recording this bonus episode before it releases and are going to be talking about the general things we hope are included in this chapter, the possible limitations of what can be included, and our top 3 most wanted chapters. We also think we know for sure what chapter we will get, which happens to be our most wanted, so stay tuned. If you have no clue what we are talking about, Rebecca Yarros has announced a paperback edition of Fourth Wing, and it includes both of the Xaden POV chapters 9 and 16 that we got from the Fourth Wing Holiday Edition in 2023, and a brand new chapter that has not yet been named. It releases again on September 17th, and we will link the pre-order to that book in the show notes for you if you haven't secured one already. But Rebecca has also said that she will be posting the new bonus episodes on her website for free in just a couple of months after the release, where she already has the original 2 bonus chapters 9 and 16, which we will also link down in the show notes.
We will be releasing a bonus episode covering the new chapter as soon as we can get our hands on it and get it out to you. So be on the lookout, and we'll be dissecting every detail of that.
Oh, we are going to eat it up. I'm so excited.
Same.
Importantly, the description does say that it is a never before released extra scene. This could just be because we haven't seen this scene from Xaden's perspective, but I imagine it means it's a whole new scene that extends from one of the chapters we already have from Violet.
Ooh, I would love to see a scene that we haven't already read from Violet's perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Even like the one in chapter 16 where it was the same scene at the end of Threshing, but you get Garrick talking with Xaden. Violet didn't see any of that, so it's like technically a new scene, but I think this implies an entirely new one, and I cannot wait.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
I also do think it would be really cool if we got an off-page chapter itself, like all of the scenes were new, but I do think it's more likely that it's only a scene or 2 that are not ones we've already experienced and mostly focused on scenes with Violet. So,
fair enough.
Now let's start with what we hope to see in the chapter.
Okay, so I would love to see more conversations between Xaden and his friends, Liam and Garrick specifically, because I have been loving getting to see their dynamic, and I need more of it in my life.
Their banter, and honestly, it's not even just the banter, it's the balance of like really healthy communication between the boys that like I think you really get when it's written by a woman.
Oh, we love to see that.
Absolutely. Alongside the banter really just makes all of those little tidbits so fun to read.
Right.
But I'm most excited about, and you know, if you guys have been along for this ride with us for a while now, then you will know this about me, but I am so hopeful that we get information about Xaden's second signet. I really want to know how Rebecca Yarros writes his powers out on the page. Now, Xaden describes the way that it works in Iron Flame as, and I'm going to give you the full quote, that breath of a second before the actual thought, the subconscious motivation you might not even be aware of in your mind, or when instinct drives you to move or you're looking to betray someone, the intention is always there. Mostly they come across as pictures, but some people intend in really clear pictures. And I really am interested, even just from like a writing perspective, to see how creative Rebecca gets with typing this out. Like, how does she paint this picture for us? I cannot wait to see it. Even if we don't get it in this specific Xaden point of view bonus chapter, eventually we should get a POV that will show this. And especially considering that Rebecca has just said that Xaden actually does read thoughts. It's not just limited to intentions. He just interprets it as intentions as of right now. Now, this was mentioned in her London Q&A, which we will link down in the show notes. So...
Oh, I'm the same as you. And I know it's sort of explained, like you mentioned, like he sees pictures of the intention right before whatever the action happens. But I really want to see how. I need to see how it works. I want to see very in depth, like on the page, like you mentioned, and not just like how he tells Violet it works. Like I want to see the thought process, and I want to see how it goes from intentions to full on mind reading.
Exactly. And we could get so many Easter eggs. We might not get any of this. Unfortunately, likely won't get any of this, but it doesn't stop our wishful thinking. And so that's that's the section we're in right now, is like high hopes, wishful thinking portion. And we've talked about this a lot through our chapter deep dives, but I want to know if Xaden is actually limited to only using his signet when he himself is not shielding. And this comes into play in both of his previous POV chapters, where he says he doesn't shield around Dane, and then he says and that's implied that that's basically why he's not reading people's intentions or showing his signet, which was Rebecca's way of hiding it from us. And then in 16, where he says he does that around everyone. So it's like, well, then when do you use it?
Right.
So I could see her doing that again if she doesn't want to spoil anything, which again we'll get to in just a moment, but I really hope she doesn't. I really hope she just like contradicts it. We'll let it go that she said before that he can't do it while he's shielding, and we'll just enjoy whatever she gives us.
I agree with that whole thing. Like, it's okay. We will forget what you said about that. It's okay. Don't need continuity on that. I want to see.
Just look right over it. No, of course, we want to see him use his intrinsic signet on Violet, but I also want to see him use it on other people to see if there's any differences. As Rebecca and Xaden himself have said, their bond through their dragons makes it easier for Violet to send her intentions freely without him actively seeking them out. And I wonder if this is the case with direct mind reading, where right now he can only read Violet's mind, but as his signet evolves, he may be able to read everyone's, which we would get context for depending on how Rebecca writes him using his ability on Violet versus others, if she does include that in this chapter.
Oh, I really want to see that as well. And I also want to see more Sigale, because their back and forth is just so much fun to read.
I love any glimpse into the dragon dialogue. And I think we're definitely going to get more Sigale. We have to, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, no, that's a given. I can't wait. I can't wait for the sass.
We love that sass.
And that makes me think, if Rebecca does include the second signet info, I wonder if we will finally get confirmation on whether Xaden can read the intentions of dragons.
Oh, I know we talked about this a bit, and with Taryn saying to Xaden, don't try to read me, even though Taryn didn't know, I just feel like it had to be something, right?
I really think that was an Easter egg Rebecca left and then she changed her mind on. And so I agree, based on the context that would have provided, yeah, he can read intentions, and it would make sense that he could. It's just that has huge implications, especially with how significant it is that you're not even supposed to talk to another dragon that's not yours, but you're over here reading their intentions and possibly even their minds. Imagine like the implications for the Empyrean.
Right.
Like Sigale and Taryn can't let any other dragon know. Otherwise, it's not just the humans that would want him dead. It would be the dragons. Oof. Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Now that we have our wishful thinking out of the way, let's talk about possible limitations. Romance Rants on Reddit. It's such a tongue twister. Romance Rants on Reddit pointed out the implications that Rebecca may have in adding a new Fourth Wing chapter that is released at the end of a Fourth Wing special edition, which, means that there's still a lot of Iron Flame spoilers that Rebecca will need to avoid ruining for any first-time readers. This likely means that as much as we want to know more about how Xaden's signet works, Rebecca will likely not be able to include direct references to it or uses of it to avoid spoiling. I'm still holding out hope that she just prints a spoiler page that warns the reader, this has Iron Flame spoilers. Don't read it until after you've read Iron Flame. But my hopes aren't super high because why would she not just save it for an Iron Flame paperback? Which maybe she will. Maybe this one is a spoiler-free chapter, but then when we get our Iron Flame bonus chapters, which she has implied we will get some holiday ones, then maybe that's when we'll get this intention information. But, so my hopes aren't super high for the Fourth Wing one. I do think that we will still get Easter eggs for Onyx Storm, but I don't think it will be like game-changing information, maybe just a couple more puzzle pieces that don't quite complete it. Now, Romance Rants also mentions that spoilers for smuggling daggers or correspondence with Brennan likely won't be included, but I have to disagree here. I think since the bonus chapters are included at the end of Fourth Wing, we could easily see this as we already have that information, which is how we got Brennan mentions in Xaden's other two POVs. But I do agree that if she doesn't give a spoiler warning, we will not get any flashbacks to the deal he made with General Sorengale or what happened when he got his rebellion relic, as both of those things are revealed in Iron Flame. So this likely rules out Chapter 1 parapet scene when Xaden and Violet first meet, and Chapter 32 where Xaden is on the parapet on reunification day, which could lead to some flashbacks.
I'm going to keep my hopes high for us. You can be the realistic one. I'll be the delusional one this time. And I am going to hope that she does put the spoiler alert and possibly give us something that could spoil Iron Flame. Oh, I hope.
What gives me some level of hope there that I think is still realistic is at this point, I feel like most people who would be going out of their way to get the special edition. I mean, it is a paperback, though. It's the first one, so maybe that's not entirely fair to say, but I just feel like most people would have read it, Iron Flame, at this point, to go out of the way to do it. But then it is a paperback, so not sure. Let's get into the 3 chapters that we most hope that this chapter ends up being. Starting with number 3, because we really have to work up to it.
All right, so both of our number 3s are the same, and they are both Chapter 19. And if you don't remember, Chapter 19 is where Violet gets attacked in the middle of the night by unbonded cadets, and Taryn calls Xaden to help. Then he cares for her before they go meet with their dragons. Oh, now I want this one because I would love to know Xaden's thoughts when he was trying to get to Violet in the middle of the night attack, and what Taryn and Sigale were saying to each other and to Xaden.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay, so there's a lot of pieces to this chapter that would be so fun to get from his perspective. What were the boys doing? Fully dressed in the middle of the night, right? Likely smuggling daggers, but like full confirmation. We would get to see that conversation between them. Then what was going through his mind when Taryn told him? exactly how long did it take and what was he thinking in that couple minutes span before he got there? What did he think when he first entered her room and said, "You're all fucking dead"? Like, at that point, Violet's like, oh, he just is scared to lose his own life. But no, I'm sure we would get thoughts of, oh, he's thinking about how dare they try and kill my Violet, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we would get, so there's so many things. And then, if you listen to this episode where we talked about chapter 19, I love the aftercare, essentially, right? That he gives to Violet when she's in shock. Like the gentle touching her ribs to check and see if she's okay, the lacing the corset and unlacing it, the getting on his knees to put her shoes on for her. Oh, I need that. I'm like slowly working this up the list, but the next couple chapters are like equally as juicy.
Yeah.
But just all of those things. And then, yes, it would also incorporate some dragon discussion and what was going on there, his thoughts there. And then if that, we'd think about that extra bonus scene that we apparently haven't had, it would make sense that it would be them going out for that mission and then him being interrupted by Taryn. So
that's what I want. That's like, oh, okay. And then we have ones that we want more than that, which is kind of crazy. So we actually have different number 2s, right?
Sort of. Mine was yours. And then we went through our last episode and I was like, wait, no, this one as well. So it's tied. It's tied for yours and mine.
Perfect. Well, mine is chapter 14, Threshing. And we do already have like part of his POV for a threshing chapter. But chapter 14 specifically is the chapter where Violet is facing off with Jack, Tynan, and Oren during threshing because they are trying to kill our lovely Andarna. And Violet is defending her. And Xaden is watching from the sidelines. And Taryn shows up right as Xaden's about to break all the rules and step in to help Violet. Oh, the interactions between the dragons here. When Sigale called Taryn and what she was saying, watching all this happen, that is what I really would love to get Xaden's perspective on. Oh, it'd be so good. And then I want to know what Xaden was thinking watching this unfold before he actually took the step to go towards Violet.
Absolutely. Well, I really want to know what Sigale's reaction was to Taryn bonding Violet.
Oh
because
my
we know
gosh.
that she calls him, like you said, and I would love to know what that sounded like, because we know that Xaden can also communicate with Taryn. So getting it from Xaden's perspective to see, okay, Taryn swoops in just to like save Andarna, but oh my God, what? They're bonded? He just bonded her? What do you, like that whole, like, it would be so chaotic. Here's why that one is not a solid number 2 for me. And I actually think that would move that one to my number 3. Just doing that in the moment. And here's why. We've already gotten chapter 9, the dagger scene, the first one. And then we got chapter 16. Both of those were before Xaden and Violet really crossed over to being consciously romantic, right? Even some of the ones in our list are still borderline, but at least they've kind of acknowledged that there's something going on. They've leaned into the chemistry and the tension. This one is before that. So I think it would make sense. I really do want to see this, but I think I would appreciate and enjoy a perspective from him after he's basically already fallen or close to it.
And I think part of wanting this one is more for me about the dragons, more so than Xaden. So Xaden POV, we do want one where it's more about him.
Honestly, I want them all.
I need the book.
My number 2 is actually chapter 27, when Xaden flies out to meet Violet and her squad at Montserrat, because he couldn't stay away more than 2 days from her, where he finally outwardly tells her that and then kisses her at the end after he has so much compassion and admiration for her not wanting to leave her sister. I just love that whole chapter.
It's a good one.
There's banter. There's the tension. There's this playful, like, flirting, all of it. And then the other characters that you'd get to see his perspective of. That's my number 2. It is.
You've convinced me.
Have I?
Yeah.
Did I switch yours? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Because I do still want the one I mentioned, but I do think it's more because of the dragons than anything.
Yeah. Which, unfortunately, Rebecca says she has no plans to write a dragon POV. So Xaden would be pretty much our only access for that.
Right.
And finally, our number 1 most wanted Xaden POV chapter from Fourth Wing. Chapter 22.
Of course we want this chapter. Violet officially starts the channel. Taryn and Sigale are having a little spicy time, and Violet and Xaden are feeling the dragon's emotions and have a little hot and heavy moment, and it's everything I need out of a bonus chapter.
Everything we need out of a bonus chapter. I can't even express just how badly I want this chapter from his perspective. We would get to see if Xaden thinks that the dragons did this on purpose. Their little escapade. Taryn just happens to start channeling the moment he decides to go on this little adventure with Scale. He could have waited to channel after. So we would also get to see him suspect Violet's signet because she doesn't know it yet, but this is where she first manifests it. And I want to know all of the spicy things he is thinking about her and how he is interpreting what she is saying to him and how she's reacting. And the extra scene could be whatever happened right before he went out to the courtyard when he first started feeling Sigale and went out to smoke some Shurum. So we could get some Garrick and Imogen dialogue, or even what he did and was thinking when he sent Violet back inside. That would be huge, because he says in Iron Flame that he's been in love with her since their first kiss. And while I think that he realized in retrospect, we would get to see what he is thinking about it at the time.
Oh, if we got this chapter, we would most likely see him in denial about being in love with her. And possibly, if she's not too busy, Sigale's response to his denial, and I would eat that up.
I do think she is a little preoccupied, though. Yeah. Violet does say that at the end she no longer feels Taryn, so they're done. But, like, is she just, like, readily available to... Because at that point, they weren't watching their riders. They had better things to do. But there's ways that it could be incorporated. Even if, like, we get a flash-forward scene the next day where we get some Sigale banter and picking on him.
And after the fact conversation.
Yeah. Like, oh, what happened there? Especially if he thinks that they planned it. Maybe he asks Sigale, what the fuck was that?
Would love it.
I just really want into Xaden's mind in this chapter for all of the reasons, especially since I 100% believe he reads her mind when she says closer. She thinks closer. Then she thinks it's as if he read my mind and he, like, pulls her closer. Which we cover in episode 10, which will ironically release the day that the paperback edition releases. So we're covering chapter 22. It's, did we manifest it? But I think, and Romance Rants pointed this out as well, Rebecca could easily write it as if this moment was because of their bond to, like, avoid spoilers. But I still really hope she just adds a spoiler page so we get 100% of what was really going on, and she confirms that he is reading her thoughts here.
Oh, that's what I want that too. I so want that, because I would just love at least a little nugget of information about his signet, and especially in that moment.
Yeah, well, and I think when it comes to her writing the POVs, now that we know what we know in Iron Flame, if she can't write it without spoiler limitations, I hope she doesn't write a chapter where he did read her mind. I hope she just writes another one. When I read Xaden POV, I want it to be what she saw Xaden thinking while she was actually writing Violets, and not like, oh, I have to tweak some of this and change it to avoid the spoilers. Like, I want it to be like 100% authentically what was happening with Xaden.
Right.
But there are two main reasons why we are convinced that Chapter 22 will be the new Xaden POV Fourth Wing chapter. Rebecca Yarros has said that she has two favorite Fourth Wing scenes. According to Skyfall Scotland on Tumblr, Rebecca stated on a panel in Sydney that her favorite scenes in Fourth Wing were the dagger stealing scene in Chapter 9 and the first kiss scene. We already have Chapter 9 Xaden's point of view, so it would make so much sense that Rebecca wrote her other favorite chapter from Xaden's perspective.
And remember when Rebecca changed her profile photos as a countdown to Onyx Storm's cover reveal? First, it was Chapter 3 from Fourth Wing, then Chapter 22 from Fourth Wing with the 20 crossed out, and finally Chapter 31 from Iron Flame with the 30 crossed out. Why not use Chapter 2 instead of 22? We think that this is an Easter egg for Xaden's POV being 22.
I'm convinced, and I can't take credit for this. Yes, I also believe it's an Easter egg, but Karen texted me in the middle of the night the other night and said, wasn't her second profile 22? Yeah. She pulled a Taylor Swift. Karen, great job.
And that's not usually me that texts in the middle of the night with theories, but I had an epiphany and I needed to share. I had thought you had already thought of this too.
No. And honestly, it seems like I'm rubbing off on you a little bit. I love to see it. Now, these were just our favorite chapters as a whole that we would want, but we, like the rest of the fandom, would love to get the morning after scene where Xaden leaves Violet's on Violet's nightstand.
Oh my gosh.
And later, when Garrick and Liam are helping replace I cannot pronounce this word, armoire. Oh, I can pronounce the word. Okay. The armoire. I think it would be so funny. And so those have to be, I can't put them above the chapters though, but those scenes would be so fun. I hope that Rebecca one day considers rewriting all of Fourth Wing from Xaden's point of view when she is feeling up for it. If she feels creatively inspired to do so, we would eat it up every single moment.
100%. It would be a fantastic gift. We are not shouting more. We are not asking for more. We would love it though. It'd be great. So that wraps up our Xaden POV bonus chapter predictions. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to check out our chapters by chapters deep dive of Fourth Wing through the lens of Iron Flame, and share with all of your Fourth Wing friends.
We will be releasing a bonus episode covering this new Xaden POV chapter next week as soon as we can get our hands on it and hit record, so be on the lookout.
I'm so excited. We would love to hear the chapters you think or hope we get from Xaden's POV. Drop them below if you are watching on Spotify or YouTube, or join us over on Discord.
Until next week, dearest fantasy readers, prepare yourselves to get a new Xaden POV chapter as we continue our journey through the Empyrean series. Romance writ. Whoa, that's a tongue twister. Okay. Romance rants on
Sorry.
on Reddit. Romance rants on Reddit. Okay. That's hard.
I'm sorry, I don't know why it's so funny. Why would they make that their username? It's so hard to say.
It's so cute.
It's so cute.
Okay.
So hard to say.